Hey friends, V here. I am so excited to share my 2024 Papel Picado SVG bundle. Now in this bundle, it includes 3 items. You get the mini Marigold SVG. This is a brand new Marigold design, by the way. I'm also including the layered butterfly SVG, as well as the 2024 layered frame. This is meant to hold a photo for your loved one's pictures. Now, keep in mind, this exclusive Dia de los Muertos bundle is only available for a limited time, so get it before it's too late. All right, so we're going to kick off the video with the Marigold assembly. Now, you're going to need your Marigold cutouts, along with this embossing stylus tool from the Dollar Tree. You can find it in the Crafter Square section. There are 3 wood dowels we're going to need to assemble the Marigold. It's going to be our 3/16 dowel, the 1/8 dowel, and then a dowel skinnier than 1/8. I don't know the exact size, but for those of you that call it the Julie dowel, that is what we need, or you can also use a toothpick, along with a hot glue gun of your choice. Now I'm using a foam flower rolling mat. You can use a yoga mat if you have one at home laying around, just cut a piece off. But I have my Flower Camp 2023 mat here. You can also purchase them from Julie with PhotoFabPaperFlowers. I'll be sure to put her details down in the caption of the video or description. Now for the Marigold, there are 3 different shapes of petals, but 4 different sizes. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Everyone should have access to the Marigold guide, along with the butterfly guide and the frame guide that's included with your purchase. So don't forget to download and print that. It just gives you some helpful tips as well. So you have your large layer that I just showed. Now this is the mid-size layer. It's shaped differently. And then you have your smallest layer that has skinnier petals, okay? So there's 3 different shapes, but the smallest shape is going to have 2 different sizes, okay? So just keep that in mind. So 3 shapes, but 4 sizes total. So this very first large shape, petal shape, you're going to need 3 of the same size. For this video, I'm making my Marigold 3.5 inches, so all 3 of these layers are set at 3.5 inches wide. This mid-size layer, you're going to need another 3, but you're going to size these at 3.25 inches. You're going a 1/4 of an inch down, 3.25. Now the small layer, you're going to need 2 of these, and those are going to be at 2.75, and then the final 2 inner layers are going to be 2.5. Now again, on the recipe guide or the guide that I provided, I give you a better idea of the breakdown of the sizing, okay? So now I'm going to go in with my embossing tool, and I'm going to take 1 layer of the largest size, and I'm just going to create these embossed lines on each petal, dragging from the center going to the outer edge of the petals, okay? Now the reason we use these foam mats is because it allows the pressure from the embossing tool to push down without necessarily tearing your paper. And this is what it should look like. Now you can take your scraping tool or even this dowel and just curl all the petals away. Now be sure you're holding from the center so that way you don't rip the petals off. This is the only layer that's going to be styled that way, okay? Now you're going to take the same embossing tool and you're gently just going to roll along the bottom edge of each petal just so you get a little bit of a lift. Now the second 2 layers of the same size, you're going to take your 3/16 dowel, you're going to place in the middle of the petal, pinch with your thumb and your pointer finger and roll. You want those edges of the petals to lift up for the roll. Now I'm stacking both of them together. You can do each layer individually if you need. Now when you do this, you're only going to do every other petal rolling the same direction, okay? As you can see, I'm skipping a petal in between each one. Then I'm going to flip it upside down, and I'm going to repeat the process to the other 4 petals, so that way they're curled in the opposite direction. Okay, and you're going to repeat this for these 2 layers. Again, you can do both layers at the same time, but if you're new to paper flowers, I do recommend one at a time so you don't overwork your fingers. Now I'm going to separate them. I'm going to take the embossing tool, and again, I'm just going to roll the inner bottom edge of the petals so that way they get a cute little lift, okay? This is just going to help prevent the petals from pushing down on each other as you layer them together. Now I'm taking the mid-size layer that has 3 that are measured at 3.25, okay, 3.25 inches. And again, my 3/16 dowel, I'm going to every other petal and curling up. Okay, dowel in the center, pinch with your thumb and pointer, and then roll. I'm flipping it over, and the other 4 petals, I'm going to curl the opposite direction. Okay. You're going to separate these as well. And then again, you will take your embossing tool to roll the centers to help lift those petals. It really is magic when you do this. If you've never worked with a flower, like these small flowers where you're rolling the centers, like it really is pretty cool how it just lifts those petals up. So now that you have your mid-size done, I just stack them all together so that way I can continue with the remaining layers. Now, this is the first set of the small petal size. I'm going to go down to the 1/8 dowel, as well as the toothpick size, or AKA the Julie dowel. Now, I am going to start off with the 1/8 dowel first, and I'm going to curl the same way that we did the previous mid-size layer. I'm going to the center, pinching with my thumb and my pointer, and then rolling to get those edges to curl up. And I'm going to every other layer, flipping it upside down, and then continuing the process to ensure the other 4 layers or petals are curled in the opposite direction. Now I'm going to separate these 2 layers, and you're going to see me go in with the same dowel, but all I'm doing is just recurling to give them a little bit more closure, and so that way they're not so open. So you can go ahead and curl these separately versus stacking them together, and that just gives you a little bit more of a closed curl. All right. Now for the final 2 layers, which are the 2.5-inch layers in the same shape that we just did, I'm going to start off with my 1/8 dowel, and I'm going to do the same steps. Every other petal, pinch with your thumb and pointer, roll, and then flip upside down and curl the other 4 petals in the opposite direction. Now, in order to get these petals, because they are smaller, to give a nice tight curl, when I separate them, I'm going to go in with the toothpick or the Julie dowel, and I'm going to recurl. Now, the reason I don't initially curl with this skinniest dowel is because with cardstock, you need to warm it up a little bit before you go in with a super small curl. So that's why I use the 1/8 dowel first, and then I go back in with the Julie dowel or your toothpick, okay? So you can see the difference in the tightness of the curl on the one that I redid. So I'm going to go ahead and do this to the second smallest layer as well. Once you finish curling, go ahead and take your embossing tool and go ahead and push down in the center of these final 4 layers and give them a nice lift, okay? Once you do that, we're going to start stacking all of our layers together using the hot glue to secure them in. Now I go ahead and take my first layer and I flip the remaining mid-size and the larger and the mid-size layers upside down, just so I know where the glue needs to go. Put the glue in the bottom underside center, and then go ahead and stagger these next layers to where the layer petals you're adding on top are in between the petals underneath, as you can see there. It's in between those. So that way it covers the gap. You will continue this process for all of the large layers and then the additional 3 mid-sized layers. So just again, add glue to the middle base and then stagger your petals. Now you're going to notice that they are going to start to kind of close in that center, and that's okay, because once we add the final 4 inner layers, it's going to kind of push those back. So just do your best to go ahead and place your layers staggered, and don't move the center too much because you don't want those layers to shift, all right? So once you've added your large and mid-size, you're going to go and start with the very smallest of these 2 sizes that we have left for the small petal shape. You're going to gather them together, add the glue to the base, and then add glue to the bottom edges, so that way these petals we're attaching will stay lifted and not open up. And then you're just gonna kind of squeeze the bottom. Your focus is squeezing the bottom together, allowing the little tubes, I guess, of petals to just fall where they will. And then you're going to repeat the process, add glue to the edges and the bottom, and then go to the second size up. Okay, you're starting from the very center on this final piece and then working your way to the 2 larger pieces. And then again, you're going to repeat the process, adding glue to the bottom edge along to the base. And I don't necessarily follow, making sure that the petals are in between the previous layers on this, just because they're all going to be kind of bunched together. Okay. Once you have them together, you are going to add glue to the base and the edges of that little bunch in the center, or of the center. And then you're going to just kind of push that in the center of your flower. Now, the 4 layers we just added, the very center, are going to be slightly shorter than the mid-size layers that are around it. And that is the goal, okay? So really make sure you give it a push so that way that center does not pop out of your flower. And there you have your 3.5-inch mini marigold. Now we're going to get into our next project, which is the layered butterfly. We're going to be sure to use our Barely Art Precision Craft Glue or any craft glue of your choice. But if you're interested in purchasing, you can get 10% off the barelyart.com website and use code VEEPLES10 for 10% off. We're also going to use scrapbook.com's 1/8 of an inch by 9-inch strips of foam, and they are 2 millimeters. Okay. Now I will put the details down in the description of this video, so that way y'all have the link for it. I've tried out plenty of other foam strips, but I feel that these specific foam strips work best with my designs because of the amount of detail that I include in them, and you don't lose that detail with the thickness of the 2 millimeters. Okay, let's get into the butterfly. This is an 8-layered project. Now, I'm going to quickly go over the layers here, but we always start with layer 1, and that's going to be always, for me, solid black. That's just a support layer. It is never seen. Layer 2 is going to be your first colored layer, also solid. Layer 3 is going to be the little hearts in the top and then some detail at the bottom. Layer 4 is going to have this little swoop added. Layer 5 is going to add the detail in the center and the 3 dots on the sides. Layer 6 is going to have the scallops on the center and more dots at the top and detail at the bottom. Layer 7 is going to have this additional little heart shapes on the upper wings. And then your layer 8 is going to be the most detailed, and it's going to have some more detail in those open spots. Now I'm using black cardstock for the base layer 1 and layer 8, the most detailed layer. And then I use bright colors for layers 2 through 7. Okay, it's completely up to you on the color you make your layers, but this is just how I do it. And don't forget, there is a visual guide that you can print out with your purchase. It's included so you know how to stack the layers. Okay, so for your butterfly, it's a little bit of a simpler process in this year's design compared to last year. You are going to pair every 2 layers together. So layer 1 and 2, layer 3 and 4, layer 5 and 6, and layer 7 and 8 will all be paired. You are going to pair them in order to glue them together. So when it comes to the 8 layers, you're not going to use foam strips in between every layer. You're going to glue every 2 layers together first before you start using the foam. So I'm going to take my glue to layer 2, and then I am going to add this on top of layer 1. Now, when it comes to your gluing, you don't want to over glue because you don't want the cardstock to soak up the glue and then make your cardstock flimsy. But that's why I love Bearly Arts Precision Craft Glue, because it's meant for paper crafts, okay? So I just stack those together, push down, make sure the layers are nice and attached to each other. And you're going to do this until you end up with 4 layers. Your 8 layers will convert into 4. So I'm going to take layer number 4 and glue it on top of layer number 3. And I'm going to speed up the video so that way we can get right on with the show. And now I'm going to take layer 6 and glue that on top of layer 5. And as you move up to the top layers, you're going to lose the amount of space that you have because there's more and more cutouts. But just take your time with this process. And I'm going to go and glue layer 8, our very top layer, on top of layer 7. And the Bearly Arts glue does dry clear, so if there's a little bit of an overspill, you're perfectly fine. Okay, so our next step is going to be to lift the wings of the top 3 layers. So layer 3 and 4 stacks, which are my yellow and teal. And we're going to do that by taking our scraping tool, or if you have a bone folder, and you're just going to take it to the body of the butterfly, and then you're going to lift the wings up. Just so that way they lift right where you have the edge of the tool that you use, okay? Now, you don't need one of these tools to do this. You can just simply crease the wings at the body, but I just find this to be a little bit easier. So you're just going to gently lift them. It doesn't have to be like a complete fold. You just want to get those wings to lift up so that way there's dimension once you start layering them with the foam strips. So you're going to do that for all of the top 3 layers. I didn't touch layer 1 and 2, the black and the red layer, just because that's the base and it's okay if it's just flat. And now we're just going to take one of our strips of foam, and you'll probably be able to use one for this entire process here. You're going to take your layer 3 and 4, you're going to place it at the body. You can go up to the head of the butterfly, and then you're just going to stick that right onto the layer 1 and 2 stack, okay? Push down on the body. I don't add any additional glue or hot glue or anything. I just attach the foam strip. I have not had any issues with the foam strips or them lifting or anything. Now, if you want to add some hot glue just to be a little bit more secure. Completely up to you, but I don't necessarily do that. Now I'm going to take stack 5 and 6 and I'm going to place that on top of the 2 layers I already added. Again, just adding your foam to the body of the butterfly. And then again, to stack 7 and 8 layers, take my foam strip and then attach that on top of my existing stack. And just like that, guys, you have your beautiful layered butterfly all ready for your Dia de los Muertos projects. I absolutely love her. Oh, she is so pretty. And you can do so many color combinations. Don't limit yourself on this one. And we've made it to our final project from this bundle, and that is the frame design. Now, this is very similar to the butterfly in a sense that it has 8 layers. We're going to stick to our Barely Art craft glue and our foam strips as well. Now, again, my black layer 1 is unseen. Now, my top layer, I did black as well. You can do any color combination you would like. I'm going to show you here. I did one in yellow. You see the teal one there. Completely up to you. In this video, I'm just using black. So my base layer 1 is black and my top layer 8 is black. Now the in-between layers, layer 2 through 7, are colored. The only thing is layer 2, the blue, is not going to be seen once you add the photo inside the frame. I'm just showing you how you can use the same colors of your butterfly to your frame so that way they match. But as I just mentioned, layer 2, that's blue, you will see it when you assemble the frame. But once you add your family photo, it is not going to be seen. Okay? So it looks great with the blue, but when you add the photo, it's not going to be seen. It's just going to be the frame colors. So just keep that in mind. You can do it in black if you want. You can do layer 1 and 2 in black, but otherwise I just did it in blue, knowing that it's not going to be seen, but it looks cute, when you don't have the picture in there either. Now, layer 3 and layer 4 are going to be stacked together, layer 5 and layer 6, and again, layer 7 and layer 8 will all be glued together. So same thing like the butterfly, it's the same process. I'm going to go ahead and glue layer 2 onto layer 1. And you're going to repeat the steps just like this. And I'm going to go ahead and speed it up for you once again. All right, and I'm going to take glue to the back of layer 4 and glue that on top of layer 3. And then layer 6, I'm going to glue that on top of layer 5. And then the glue will go on the back of layer 8 and glue that on top of layer 7. Now, once again, once you have all of your layers glued, you're going to go ahead and begin adding your foam strips to the frame. Now, unlike the butterfly where we only added to the body, the frame has more space to cover. So on layer 3 and 4, the stack layer 3 and 4 that I'm currently working on now, I'm putting foam along the outer edge and then along the inside cutout. And that would be it for this layer. And then you'll just align on top of layer 1 and 2, and then you'll move on to layer 5 and 6. So again, adding the foam where I can, you have a little bit more detail cut out. You still have a good amount to cover, but you do want to make sure you're adding foam to the edges as the space allows. And then of course to the inner edge of the cutout, the rectangle cutout is what I'm referring to. Okay. So what I love about this foam as well is you can easily bend it and shape it to where you need it to be. And again, the main reason I use it is the width of the 1/8. It works really well with these projects. And you're just going to go ahead and layer that on top of your existing layers. And then lastly, going to layer the stack layer 7 and 8, putting tape on the back side, which is layer 7. And again, I'm just trying to fill in any space. You don't want the foam to cover any of the cutouts because it will show on the front side when you attach it. So just be careful with that. I'm obviously cutting much smaller pieces and just filling them in where I think I should. So well, you can put as little or as much as you want. I do it a little overboard, okay? And then once you're done with this, you're just going to go ahead and stack it right on top of your existing layers, and your Papel Picado frame is complete. So I do want to say thank you guys so very much for all of the love and kindness and just excitement y'all have shared with me for my 2024 Papel Picado SVG bundle. I hope y'all love it as much as I do, and thank you for watching.